It looks like it's back on live for me. Hello,
Yeah.
hello everyone, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I just said refresh it.
So do you remember what you were saying maybe 20 seconds ago? Because he's kind of faded into robotitude.
What was I saying? There's so many beautiful and crazy experiences that happen when awakening, and then a little person is left, not much, just comes in and claims stuff and says, "This is what I am," or "I am this now," or "I'm not this. I haven't got it," or "I've lost it again." And but really, there's nothing that had anything in the first place. There's only what is happening, and what is still and moving simultaneously. And everything that appears in it goes and is not you. So if you've got a thought about you being enlightened, then that's come and gone. Where is this person that's enlightened?
So I don't know what you mean by still unmoving.
Still and moving. Yeah, it's really...
Like, what do you mean by still specifically? I get the moving. It's all changing, like, rapidly.
Yeah.
But I don't... Where's the still?
Yeah, because in the movement, you can see all the things. So you can see the movement, but the stillness isn't moving, so you wouldn't be able to see it. But it's there.
Really loud wind outside.
Would this be perceivable if there wasn't also stillness? But you can't think it into presence. You can't, because it's not in the appearances.
So it's a thing outside of perception.
It's actually is the perception. Because all things are the perception and all things are still and moving. Because there's not really anything that's perceiving the things, there's just the things.
So the reality we see is the product of our knowledge coming into play that we've accumulated, conditioned knowledge. And you're saying that there's stillness too.
Actually, everything that we see is isn't separate from the brain. It's a hard thing to say because without the brain is what formulates this. It's what makes it. So the world and the brain are the same things. So in each different body, it will see it in a different way. Life will be different. To an owl, this reality will be completely different. To a dog, hello, sweetie. Just as she comes in, hello, sweetie.
That was enlightenment at play.
So to a dog, it's a completely different world again. Even between human to human, it's different worlds. So the brain and the world are one and the same thing. You can't have a world without a brain, but you also can't have a brain without the world. There's not an edge and a beginning to them. But brain is what energy builds in order to see all this. And it also uses consciousness as well. It builds all these different formulas in order to see all this.
Could you refresh your comments that you've frozen? Freaking me out.
It might not go back on if my internet's not good.
Please.
You just get this other picture.
Now you're a circle. But that's okay. That's pretty zen.
Yeah. It's a half circle as well. It only goes half. So the brain and the world are the same thing. But it's not somebody's brain who then is creating the brain and the world in order to experience itself.
So you're saying who is creating the experience?
Yeah. Because remember, everything you think and know is already in the brain, is already in experience. So everything you learn and understand about this is already in the experience. So that's already something inside the experience. So when you put the noughts and ones in, I don't even know how you program computers anymore, but when you put that in to program a computer, can those noughts and ones comprehend that it's inside a computer?
So the mind can't know itself.
No, but, so the mind, the thoughts, nothing in appearances can know itself because they're all moving. But then what's experiencing this? If it's not in thought, not in sensation, not in feeling, not in anything you know, and this is where all experiences become insanely empty, because it's seen that all experiences, everything that's happening, is a reflection of that stillness everywhere. It's a reflection of that emptiness everywhere. And that's always what's been experiencing itself, are the appearances that are happening and not happening. So God, or whatever you want to call this, mystery, is in everything that's happening, and also is totally still. There's never been someone in time experiencing this. It's always been stillness as experience, or movement, because they're one and the same thing. This is like crystal clear, all of these appearances. We get so disturbed as a human because we think that it's coming from the past and that there's something that really gets hurt. There's somebody in time that really gets affected. But all of this is like a bird flying through the sky and not leaving a trace. All of it's traceless, without a trace, as if it never happened. But that's its beauty. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's invisibility.
But if everything is just occurring without a perceiver, then how is it seen?
The perceiver, this is the really cool part. The perceiver is the things. We think we're something inside the body perceiving. Or we think we're consciousness. But actually, consciousness and all things are one and the same thing. So every appearance is the perception in itself. We think we're removed from it and we're in here. But actually the computer and the screen is the perceiver. This is where God is. This is where wholeness is. This is the only place wholeness could be. Otherwise it'd be separation if something perceived it. But the perceiving is all things. It's the appearances. Like a dream at night. We dream as if we're a body, looking at a separate world. We normally dream as if we're this body in our dream at night. And we dream that we're looking through a body, say we're flying or walking down a street. But actually, the dreamer is the whole dream. You're not somebody in that dream. We're always looking for ourselves in the dream. It's the whole thing. And it's so empty and full. This is its freedom. If it was really happening, it would be a cruel world.
So it's empty because there's nothing to reflect it, is what you're saying.
It's empty because there's nothing that's perceiving this in time.
So all appearances are not bound in time.
They seem like they're moving in time, but no, they're totally still. So they seem like they're moving, but they're actually still. They're empty. It all is empty.
So it's empty of itself, or empty of like time itself and things like that.
It's empty of anything in appearance. So it's not a thing in the world of appearances. So it's totally empty to any perception, but yet it is all things. So right now this is happening and not happening. This is its freedom. We think freedom is in getting an object. And this creates for no reason at all. It's got no destination. Again, this is its freedom. It's just creating for the joy of creating. Not even the joy, it can't even have that because it doesn't have anything, but it just creates. It creates joy, but it inherently has nothing.
But it seems like things are happening for someone, of someone's conditioning, in order to get things.
The body has a particular makeup, and the body-mind mechanisms are based on the principle of moving towards pleasure and moving away from pain. So when it's cold, it moves towards heat. When it's hungry, it moves towards food. When it's bored, it moves towards entertainment. So the body's based on this principle of moving towards pleasure. But this is the pleasure and pain are like a wheel. They just come and go. They're endless wheel going around. Pain, pleasure, pain, pleasure, pain, pleasure. In order to have the pleasure, you have to have the pain. In order to have the pain, you have to have the pleasure. It's like a never-ending circle. It doesn't get you anywhere.
You said the body goes for pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it sound like I'm a body going for pleasure.
No.
Which
you aren't. You could say the body was, but you aren't. Because who is inside that body? Where is that person that said those words? That can see the computer? Is that person inside a body? It's only inside a body in time where the brain reports, I'm in here. My edge is my skin.
And you're saying that the placement of time has no relation to experience.
I don't know what you mean by the placement of time.
I mean, like the creation of things in time. So things being placed in time. So at the moment, I see my speech as being placed in time.
Yeah. But really, what's the actual reality of it? The way it appears is in time and cause and effect. So I speak and you can hear it. But what's the actual reality?
Actual reality of what? The speech.
Yeah. Is it happening?
It happens when I speak.
It seems to. It seems to. So we seem to be having a conversation.
I would testify to that.
Exactly, because where is that sound that's gone now? Where is this? You never have past and future. There is never past and future. There's stillness expressing as movement. The brain is ordering it into time, and really the brain and the world are the same thing, and makes it seem like something's happening. But in actuality, the essence of everything is movement and stillness, sound and silence, happening and not happening. But the brain and the separate self takes over and makes the brain interpretation, the time, the linear timeline, seem like the reality. And this instant disappears into timeline. This instant, what's actually happening, the freedom of what is forgotten about, is covered over. There's a freedom and a boundlessness that's so vast. And all the Buddhist teaching, I was originally into Buddhism, they used to say you've got to be in the moment, and it's not about you being in the moment, because who could possibly be in the moment? But it's all about what's happening. That is where the freedom is. The human thinks freedom is in something I get, and that's a never-ending circle. Appearances are always changing. Sorry?
You're saying happenings are outside of time.
Oh.
So you're saying things happen and they're not in time when they happen.
Yes, it's always the timelessness. And then the brain formulates time. Time is not a reality. To a dog, oh, where is she? Oh, there she is. I have to be careful that she doesn't go after the bunnies. To a dog, there's no time. Even though the body remembers at certain times it's walking, to Khaleesi, she doesn't have a world of time. She has a world of impulses. She has no idea about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. She has no idea from last moment to this moment. It's not a reality time. We made it up. It's not even us. These bodies created it. But then it creates a world which fits into the timeline. So it's like the world fits into space and time, because that's what the brain's creating. But right here, there's a boundless freedom that's everything. And I can never say it correctly. I always contradict myself, because everything we speak about is in that apparent timeline. But the reason why people are attracted to these talks is because when these words come out, they actually are just stillness expressing themselves. It's not somebody in time. And this is what we fall in love with. We're always falling in love with this stillness when it's expressed. We fall in love with it in music, because often when people are playing music, they forget themselves. They forget their world. In writing, in all sorts of art.
So you're saying that there's no time, there's no person.
There's an appearance of time and there's an appearance of a character, but they're not an actuality. The separate self takes that as fact. What is actual? What is real?
Screw it, I'm tapping the glass.
But that's taken your brain to repeat. You can't see me, which is a shame, but your brain has had to repeat the hand moving away from the glass when the hand's on the glass to get that appearance of movement. That wouldn't be movement to a slug. That wouldn't be real to a slug. If you look through a slug brain. Because you can touch it, that makes it real. What else do you base it on? I know. What else is then that always is? There's something that's always present, that always is. What always is? It never leaves. Emotions leave, thoughts leave, objects leave. What else is there? Sensations, smells leave, thank God. Taste leaves. What doesn't leave? But this is where it's so tricky, because we're used to looking at this and that. But it's there. You could run out of the street and scream. You could be in Lanzarote or America. You could be on a shuttle outside of space, and it's still the same. Aliveness is still the same. But the person is always focusing on time and appearances. It's still the same. Anywhere you go, it's the same. Just looks different. It's just taken a different mask.
It just looks different.
It looks different, seemingly. But it doesn't really look different. When it's really seen, it's always the same.
Now I'm imagining some same thing that's been there all the time.
But that's a something. It's the same. Right here is the same as going outside. There's the same aliveness, just appearing in different forms. But the person is tricked by time. Me and object, me and something else.
So this thing that is always there, is that there like with the body since birth and then ends at death?
No, it's always there, but it just takes on different objects to look through.
So it's not unique to me?
No. There isn't a you.
Ah! But there is a me, because I move my hand, and this glass isn't moving off my brain, apart from I lifted it up, but ignore that.
Okay, well, how do you move your hand? How does this you move your hand?
I don't know how.
Are you
But I
sure?
know that this glass doesn't move very
Okay.
much.
Well, yeah, that's that's correct. Like when the thoughts arise, move the glass doesn't move, but the hand does. But who's producing the thoughts and the movement of the hand? Because normally we think we're the thoughts that say move the hand, but who's producing the thought? Who's the producer? That's an experience. Move the hand. That's happening in the experience. So who's experiencing that? It's a trick. It's a very well played trick.
So what makes that a trick? Because it seems quite normal.
Normal, because the whole of humanity is hypnotized by it. But the trick is that we think we're something in appearance. So we think we're that thought that says move the hand, get up, eat the cereal. I like shredded wheat. But that's an experience happening in this. It's not the experiencer.
So I'm not an appearance.
You are not an appearance, yet you are all appearances simultaneously. But you think you are one appearance inside that body. That's separate. That's separation. That's divide. This isn't a separate reality.
So the appearance that I am separate.
It's like, have you tried on Google goggles yet?
No, but I've heard about them.
Okay, well, they're really fun actually if you get some. But it's like putting on Google goggles and you looking through someone like Dolly Parton's eyes. So say you're looking through Dolly Parton's eyes when you put on Google goggles and you're having this experience. Oh, you don't know who Dolly Parton is?
I was looking it up. Okay, yeah. Got it.
She's a country singer.
Yeah.
So you're looking through her eyes, and then there's another program in which starts producing her thoughts, feelings, and sensations. So you start having the thoughts, feelings, and sensations of Dolly Parton, and then suddenly the experience is you are Dolly Parton. This is what these bodies are like.
But surely the composite of, the feeling that I am separate and appearances are also there is a feeling of, self. Like that is a legitimate. I just don't see how that isn't legitimate as a thought to have.
Well,
you're saying it's illusion.
It's illusion, and it's a practical thought. And Lisa still has to have self-awareness in order to function. So there still needs to be that functioning. But is that who's experiencing the world, or is that an experience? It's like I'm talking to the person that has the Google goggles on. But who is that person? And you keep saying, no, you're talking to Dolly. I'm Dolly. And I'm like, no, Dolly's your goggles. She's an experience. And you're like, no. Look, when Dolly thinks move her hand, the hand moves. See? And I'm like, that's just a thought. That's a sensation. That's not the truth of it. And you're like, no, that feels pretty real. I'm like, yeah, it's meant to. But Dolly is an experience. She doesn't actually hear anything in the reality. She's like an experience happening in the reality. So she doesn't hear the other people in the Google goggles dream. She's an experience also happening in Google goggles. You put on the Google goggles and it's a recorded thing of Dolly walking along and Dolly's feelings and Dolly's emotions. It's a recorded experience. But she's not actually looking. She's not actually hearing. She's not actually speaking. It just seems that way. So who is?
Now you're saying the thing wearing the Google goggles isn't
Dolly.
thing
Yeah.
at all.
Well, it is, because actually in this reality, that thing which is wearing the Google goggles is actually all appearances. Like if you dream at night, you are looking through a body, but you are actually the whole entire dream. This is when I keep saying the brain and the world are the same thing. But yes, that body's meant to have self-awareness, and yes, that body's meant to act as if it's independent. It's meant to feel a chair and be able to pick up the glass, but it's not the experiencer of this. It's an experience. And when that begins to really be seen, then it's seen the completion of all of this. That who you are, completion is everything. Who you are is actually all appearances. And there's no divide between you and all appearances. It's all one energy expressing itself. And it's an energetic movement that happens.
Where does that energetic movement happen?
Well, what happens when there's an illusion is that you feel like you're something in here. And when that collapses, then that sense of feeling in there disappears, and there is everything being experienced seemingly through that body, but there's no longer that divide anymore. Everything is the same source. Everything is itself looking at itself.
So the eyes are the eyes looking at themselves.
Yes. Everything you look at is the looker. Everything you hear is the hearer. Is it? Everything. Everything that's experienced is that one with the Google goggles on. But it's the most craziest of tales. I can tell why non-duality is not very popular, because you're pointing out within the dream, seemingly, like you're talking within the dream to somebody that believes they're moving in time, that who they actually are is the whole entire dream. And that person they thought they were is also the dream. I mean, that's pretty crazy, far out there idea.
Pretty wild. So you're saying that there is a thing in me which is me here or whatever, and then that's what is experiencing for me. That's how it appears for me.
Sorry?
So you're saying that there's like a center in the body which experience seems to come from, but that isn't there for you.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's a bit of a funny thing to say it's not there for you, because then where would that center that you're talking to be? But yes, that is an illusion that there is a center inside the bodies. It's not true. It's vastness. It goes on for eternity. There's not a center or a back to experience. Experience doesn't have a back on it. It's eternity. It's so far out there.
So by back, do you mean like on like the body, like the back of the body where things end?
We think.
Saying things don't end at the back of the body.
Yeah.
Oh, what? There's a connection.
Oh yeah?
Oh no, it's okay, it's back now.
It's back now.
What was your answer? Yeah.
I forgot what the question was.
I was saying about the back of the body,
yeah.
back of the mind.
Yeah, we think that there is a back on experience. We think that we are in here, we're solid, and we're experiencing something out there. But there isn't actually something experiencing.
So from my perspective, like experience ends at a certain point. It ends like there.
Yeah, but that's imagined. You've been told it so many times, it's become the truth. And this is why the person suffers. because
So
it
you're saying,
imagines itself as a small thing in this big world, which isn't true. No, my dog doesn't feel like that. My dog doesn't have any sense that she's her ears or her back or her nose. There is vastness and experience happening simultaneously. There are appearances and vastness, even though the body responds like Khaleesi, and most of the time she comes and she eats and she doesn't try to eat with her leg, she eats with her mouth. So the body functions well, but her sense, she doesn't have a sense that she's inside or outside the body. It's all happening and not happening. It's boundlessly free. But the human is caged inside the body. The human is in a fake cage, a cage in time. I'm someone that's failed. I'm someone that's succeeded. I'm someone that's enlightened. I'm someone that's less or big or small, right, wrong, good, bad, pretty, ugly, fat, thin, brown head, blonde head, and we walk around feeling like that person's inside the body and that is who you are. And that's a cage, because that's not true. It's a cage on experiencing, on this perfect joy of everything, of this love, this fake cage. And we try to find the cage, the end of the cage, in that world of me and you. But you've never existed. That you has been a dream, an energetical dream. So really, all experience is free. It's the biggest thing imaginable, because there's no back on it. There's no front on it. The world doesn't start at the edge of my nose or the end of my eyes. It's all one and the same thing.
so yes, so from my perspective, there's like space relative to me. So I see from these eyes,
Yeah,
and then there's space everywhere.
but that's not
And
true. That's what you've been told. That's what society, and because of the genes are breeding in this sense of self as well, have given the appearance of. But where is this space? Where is this you and this space and the world? That's not the actual experience. The experience is endlessness, is boundlessness. It's all imagined space, world, and you.
So the sensation of a body,
That still happens. So there's still the sensation of this body appearing, but who experiences that? So this body it's experienced through this body. So there's a sensation of this body. If somebody hits it, it hurts, it cries, it's sad, it's happy. But who's experiencing that? This energy is bound. It's like the aliveness is bound inside the body, but it's actually not there. Aliveness is everywhere. That sense of aliveness of when you were 1, 2, 3, that aliveness that doesn't feel like it's got older.
so it feels like there's a energetical presence, like along the back of my head and along my back. which is where things are. And I'm just wondering if that is, that's there.
What do you mean that's where things are?
Like that's where everything is being perceived from.
It's not, yeah, it's not true. But that's often like in awareness teachings, that's what they teach you, is back there. Or even in your own personal experience, you feel like it's coming from the back. But it's actually, the experiencer is everything, is that which is experienced. It's a fake energy that appears with this illusion of self, that there's a reference point in this. The experiencer is the experience.
So sight doesn't come from anything.
Sight is designed to be, its design, the functioning of it is to see through those eyes, to look from the Tom perspective. But actually, the way it actually is the seen and the seer are the same thing. But this isn't something I can explain in words, it's the actual way it is, because where is the eyes that are looking in the experience? The same with the feelings, the same with the smelling and the breath and the taste. They're one and the same thing. In time, in the appearance of time, we can say Tom looked, Tom ate, but this is where the human stays. And that's not the truth. That's the illusory time world which the human uses to function, not the reality.
So you're saying it's the illusory world and it's not actually the case?
No.
But I don't understand why it isn't the case when it appears to be the case.
No. What appears to be the case is what is, in every instant. And in the instant, the seeing and the seen are the same thing. The interpretation of the brain says, Tom sees. Tom is 20-something years old, and he's studying computer mechanics. And that is the untrue. But that is where the human lives, in that world. That isn't the truth of the situation, that's the functioning that the brain produces in order for us to have a community and to speak as humans. But the actual reality of the situation in every instant is the seeing and the seen are the same thing, the hearing and the heard are the same thing, and there's no reference point to it. There's nothing which looks at the world, there is simply the world. And the world is happening and not. That's the actual experience. And this is where the freedom is. This is where nothing can possibly die. Where everything is it, where wholeness is. But then the human has this functioning world that can say Tom is 20, they're old. But that's not the reality. That Tom is not the experiencer. But the human are totally hypnotized by Tom being the experiencer.
So you're saying the distinction that appears as me and the world is
inaccurate.
But not just inaccurate, also
not true.
The way not the way it is, but the way it is in that it appears in the way it is.
It appears in the way it is, so we could say there is a Tom looking at the computer, but that's not the actuality. The truth is there is nothing looking at the computer. There is simply everything appearing, and that is wholeness. This is where we say non-duality. This is reality of not two. There is nothing looking at reality. There is only reality. But in the world, in that appearances, we have this complication where we can say Tom looked at the computer. But there's not actually something separate looking at the computer in reality. It's just our way of communicating as humans. We've taken that to be reality though. And we're so lost in it, we're convinced that the table's a table. A chair's a chair, a human's a human. But these are just neural pathways lined up which spark on and ta-da! A chair's a chair
So
suddenly.
things don't come from anything, is what you're saying.
Not from anything in the appearance. They come from nothing. But in the appearances, it seems to go one thing to another, like an endless circle. In the world of nature, everything is always transforming one thing to another. But in the actuality, it's all coming from no place. It's like a kaleidoscope.
So thoughts don't come from anything.
No, but they seem to follow, and the actions don't come from anything, but they will always follow the rules of the appearances, which they seem to come from the past, but they come from nothing. That's the experience. They come from boundlessness, timelessness.
So space is just a rule of the appearances, which is just in action now.
Yeah.
So like, in my perspective, thoughts come and from somewhere into the mind.
Where? Where's that somewhere?
So they're occurring in space. Like, for example, there's sensations in my body right now, which is like along my chest, along my back. Those aren't actually in my body, real physically in my body.
So what is it that they're appearing for? Who are they appearing to?
So there's nothing moving the body.
No. But this nothing is total mystery. It's not a nothing we imagine.